to Joycey talking about the streams and coming in and being like, oh, if we're like the theoretical, if Joycey said to me, I don't think you should do this for top fives,
Oh,
quoting Nick Fury being like, I understand the council has made a decision, but given this is a stupid ass decision, I've elected to ignore it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Let It Rip podcast. I am once again your host, Estrigger, and this time I'm joined alongside Cliff. Cliff, how
What
you
up,
doing?
man? Yeah, I'm good.
So we'll start with this, with me attempting to introduce you and then forgetting what your role was at Horizon, while you instantly get interrupted straight away. So were you the owner of Horizon?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
the owner.
Yeah,
So,
technically the owner and coach for both teams, which is a struggle.
I know.
Yeah.
So let's start it with the way that Horizon's been set up and why you decided to set this up, and then I suppose we can work backwards and continue on the story afterwards of explaining Cliff's whole journey in VL. But after last split, what made you decide that you were going to not only build one team but build two teams and just go down this massive adventure? And then the first off is, did you think it would be a cakewalk?
I knew it would. I knew it would be like. I knew it would be hard, but yeah. So after, because obviously I was on WSL, and then WSL went boom after Alex said he was leaving, and then they held tryouts for a little bit, and then Luxor just messaged everyone saying that they're binding it off for the next split. They might be back to split after. So I was trying out for teams. I think I tried out for like Deja Vu, and NSK, Claytron's Academy as well at one point. But I just felt like everyone was taking way too long to get back to me, and I had thought before during the split I'd spoken to Silverback Alex about actually starting a team, and like we'd had discussions about how hard it would be and what I'd have to do to go about it, and then because everyone was taking so long to like get back to me in terms of a spot, I thought I might as well just pull the trigger, go for it.
Yeah.
The initial plan was for me to play on one of the teams. But the deeper I got into setting up tryouts and picking players and all that shit, I was like, it's just a lot of work already. I don't think I can do all of that and like practice like
Yeah.
5 days a week to actually be competitive, because I'm old, so it doesn't come naturally to me. I've got to put the effort in.
See, for me, it almost happened the opposite when I originally made Centurion. So obviously, this is kind of the second time round now, but I did it before. I think before you'd even joined. And my initial plan was to not play and to just like coach and manage both teams. Like I think I just watched some documentary on Sir Alex Ferguson and I thought, right, I can do it. Let's be a manager. And then went into it and realised, actually, no, I have jumped in far too deep. And then obviously trying to get teams sorted, and then it just came to a part where this team is not going to be like fixed, or there's only going to be 4 players, or there's an issue with the team comms that won't be resolved unless I'm playing. And it's always found myself like ended up playing and playing and playing. And now I'm in Div 404, so that's how that one ran.
Yeah. Oh.
But let's go to the start. When did you join VL for starters? How did you join VL? What was the advertising thing?
So I think it's probably around this time. Like it was the big, like just before the second split of last season.
Right, so you had the whole Ike PMA teams in the
Yeah,
spotlight when you were
I
there.
think so. See, I can't remember. I remember like Deja Vu and
Yeah.
Deja Vu Tanklang,
Yeah.
and so I put a post out on League Connect. I think I hadn't played League for ages, and I just got back into the game. Yeah, I think it was League Connect, and I put a post out essentially saying, "Oh, like I'm looking for like an amateur league to play in, because I'd played in StarCraft 2 amateur leagues,
Right.
and I'd like really enjoyed the experience. So I decided to look for a League of Legends based one, and then Agritar, as Pickles Man, approached me and like offered me a spot to play on STS as a sub.
All comes full
Yeah,
circle, these podcasts, it seems, doesn't
yeah, it does.
it?
Yeah, he offered me the spot to come in as a sub to play on there. I think as like a support sub. Um, yeah, I think it was the beginning of that split. And then obviously, uh, it all went the way it went. But yeah, it being in the team and like joining a team and doing that, it like gave me a reinvigoration for League of Legends
Yeah.
because the solo queue versus fives is like a big thing for some people, and solo queue is just not good. And then
Yeah.
playing fives is just it's at another level, and like it makes your like my at least for me it makes my enjoyment of League of Legends go from like a 4 to like an 8. You know?
I found over the years I've kind of drifted between the two. Where initially I
Mm,
had that where, solo queue, yeah, it's fun, but it's a bit boring. I'll always have a
yeah.
YouTube open or some music playing at the same time. And then suddenly it gets some more competitive. All these League of Legends streams of LCS or LEC you're watching are like, I can actually do this shit like in real life now. This is brilliant. And now it's reached a part where I can't be asked. Just let me just sit down and listen to music while I play League. which is, which is what is coming. I'm hoping it does the reverse at the moment, but yeah. So your initial thoughts of not only your team and what it was like to play in that team. Obviously, you said you played in a StarCraft team, so I imagine it wasn't too dissimilar. But how did you find VL? What was your first impression? Obviously, that split there was
um,
a lot of drama that went down, wasn't there?
yeah, there was. See, my memory's terrible because I'm so fucking old. But yeah, I remember. I obviously remember like so because Agritar was Pickles Man at the time,
Yeah.
and like every time VL General people were like constantly calling him out over it and stuff like that. There was a lot of stuff in the team where a couple of the guys on the team were getting quite irate about it, and he was just constantly telling us, "Oh no, it's not true, it's not true, don't worry about it," and all this shit. Uh, he's a great guy. I love him, but yeah. Um, but the whole like league experience was like really, really. I found it really good back then. It's obviously it's different now. I think it's in a way it's better now than it was then.
Why
Especially
put
when you
in a
like.
way? I'm wondering to say where's it gone worse?
I think there's. I think the problem with it being worse is probably, in my opinion, is like maybe split lengths, and that's about it. I
Right.
think because
Okay.
like when you compare stuff like casting then to now, I think most of the casters have either improved in their ability to cast or just stronger casters have been brought in.
Yeah.
So
Definitely true.
it makes it better to watch. So back then when I first started playing in VL, I didn't really watch the streams, but now I'll like go back and watch both streams after Horizon and finish playing. I'll go back and watch both games, even if it's not just to find stuff for top 5. I was doing it before I decided to do the top 5 stuff,
Yeah.
and I was doing it last split on WSL as well. I was going back and just watching the streams, even if they didn't have anything to do with our group, because they were just
That's pretty
enjoyable
good.
to
Though, yeah.
watch.
It's just obviously nice for the casters to hear that, and obviously shows what a good job John Joe's done. So
Yeah,
it's I imagine we'll go through to split lens and stuff later. So you say it's majoritively gotten better. SCS
yeah,
happens. Your initial response is that yeah, it's good, but obviously it has improved since. And then it was right. Okay, now what? Because SCS was already always a very secluded team. Like yeah, you had a couple of people biting in general chat, but Aguato got people not from VL because you weren't part
yeah.
of from VL. And at that time, really, you weren't. I didn't know who Cliff was until obviously you were picked up
Nah.
by WSL. So what encouraged you then to? Obviously, you said you didn't even watch the streams. What encouraged you to part looking for team posts and start looking for teams within within the league?
So after Agritar got banned, we all moved over to Red Gaming together,
Right.
and we played 2 splits in Red Gaming together. Um, the first one we got into the playoffs, I think we lost to like Fireflares or something in the playoffs. And then halfway through the second split, there was like a big disagreement between certain members of the team.
I mean, you're gonna
And
say what who or what?
so Actually, that's the thing with SCS back in the day. Like nobody knows any of these people anyway. They're
Oh,
not like
right,
relevant to
okay.
now. But like it's like so Agratar and Elio, McGough, and Philo had an argument. I think Bufu was on the team then as well. So Bufu, who's in Plague Academy at the moment, he was on the team at the time as well. And it like fully kicked off between everyone. I think we had a scrim cancelled, and I saw that the scrim got cancelled. So I went, all right, cool. I'm gonna go just hang out with my missus. Close
Yeah.
Discord. Come back the next morning. There's like 700 messages where it's all kicked off. All three of them had just like straight up left the team. I think it was over like he wanted to play some like custom games between us all, like just to practice and get used to playing with each other more. But they wanted to go and play solo queue. So it like kicked off. I come back and it's literally just me and him left. So we like
Yo.
bring more people in, and we ended up winning that split in red gaming as well. So they
It
were
clearly
obviously
worked
the
out, didn't
problem.
it? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Agritted's playing with McGough now on a team.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Him and McGough made up. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 'cause the problem with what that situation was is, um, obviously Chris has quite a strong personality.
yeah,
He's quite. I don't want to be like harsh to him, but he can be really sharp.
yeah.
I think it's just like a Danish thing though.
Yeah, looking at ISO, it certainly might be.
Yeah, I think it's just like a Danish thing where you can be really sharp and hard, and like he doesn't mean offense by it. But Elio was quite young, and I think Elio just took it the wrong way.
Yeah.
So it all like kicked off. It's reading the argument back the next morning. I was like, "The fuck is going on, boys? What's wrong with you?"
Just when you read it back without any emotion to it, it was just clearly obvious that they just
Yeah,
took it differently in their own heads. Yes.
yeah.
So what then? After obviously these two red gaming splits, obviously you're still
Yeah.
in touch with Agritter, but what brought you to VL to say you're right, okay? Because obviously something must have happened to say I want to be part of this league. Maybe was red gaming
Yeah,
that much worse, or what?
I think Red Gaming as a league, and I guess I can kind of shit on him because at the time Luxor was the league manager for the league I played in,
Yeah.
and that league was literally just who had the biggest Smurf. That's how you won that league. Because the first split we played in it, like three of the teams after the split happened, three of the teams got banned for being just full of Smurfs, and they were like the top three teams from that split.
Right. Yeah.
The streaming that they did on Red Gaming, I don't know if it's any different now, but when I was in it, it was terrible. Like there was like nothing to it, no substance. The casters were subpar. The most of the admin staff over there just, if people think the VL admins are like absent, oh man, I don't know, because the Red Gaming absence are just like they're 10 times worse. They just don't do anything. I remember messaging one of them, and him not replying to me. So I went into general chat, and a different mod replied to me, and I was like, "Oh, cool." And then like 10 weeks later, he messaged me back answering the problem, and I was like, "I mean, thanks, but it got dealt with. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
So I think I'd never left the server. I think I just put a looking for team post out in both Red Gaming and in VL.
I imagine on League Connect as well, just broaden the horizon,
Yeah,
casting it out, and
just
just see what bit.
because we weren't playing a lot together at the time. I think Agrital was busy with like uni work and stuff like that, and I wasn't. I don't know. I wasn't as. I'm the kind of person. I'm not like loyal to people. I'm loyal to my own enjoyment of a situation.
Right. Okay.
So if I think that something could be better for me, I will explore that avenue.
Yeah, that's fair. I think most people should, by proxy,
Yeah,
do that.
I think that's, if you don't live your life like that, if you're not having the thought of, am I having the most amount of fun as I could be having? Deciding.
Let's tangent off then. Based off
Yeah.
that point, is I will tell you, you will not have fun managing Horizon, right? There's going to be things that happen which you can't fucking stand. I imagine some of it already has. And it's going to reach a point where you're like, this is no longer enjoyable for me whatsoever. Would you ever just quit Horizon mid-split? Or at that point, would
Not
the
mid-split.
loyalty take over?
I would. I don't think I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it mid-split just on the premise that um, it's not good for the league for me to just be like, I'll wash my hands with you. I'm not helping any of you anymore. You can all get fucked. I'm gonna go look for my own team. You keep my team name and whatever, but I'm gonna just go play on a different team.
Yeah.
I think that's not good for the league because if people are just like if people like owners, specifically owners, are just like washing their hands with people, washing their hands with the entire team, and just being like, "I'm done with you, lot. I'm gonna just go take part in myself." I don't think that's good. You have to have a little bit of self-sacrifice. Is probably the word.
Yeah. So there is some level of loyalty to the league. Then, what about to the players? Would you kick a player mid-split if he wasn't performing? Like outside
Yeah.
of any obvious behavioural issues, if it was just underperformance, would you kick a player based off that?
I think I probably would. I'd definitely warn him first.
Yeah.
I'd probably sit down with him and be like, look, you ain't playing as well as I think you should be playing. What's going on? Is there something going on with you? Are you having like a problem? Are you not enjoying the game anymore? Should I look for a replacement already? And then see where that conversation goes. But I definitely wouldn't just message him and be like, no, you're done, mate. See you later.
But it would still be an avenue that you go down. That you
Yeah,
would
I
still
would
say,
definitely.
yeah.
I'd
Okay.
consider it for sure. Yeah, but I think that also comes under the fact that there's no point in me doing this if I'm not gonna do it to win.
Yeah, I get that.
If I'm putting all the effort that I'm putting in, I'm putting it in to win. I'm putting it in to be the best and have the best team, but also like have a good team environment as well.
And that's the balance, isn't it? I mean, when you look at historically, obviously ignoring last split, because obviously it splits into 4 different groups, it's very hard to compare the top teams with the top teams, the top orgs with the top orgs. Obviously, they're all aiming for different groups. I mean, you had Claytrons in Group B, WSL
Yeah,
in Group in C, and then
Claytrons in Group B
Plague in
was
D.
a bit.
Yeah,
Come on
a
now,
bit, a bit,
come on now.
a bit. Come on now, yeah. But obviously, you didn't get to see Plague versus WSL. WSL didn't make a team for the top group. But
No.
if you ignore that one, there is the only winners of VL has ever been Seven Deadly Sins and World Saves Lives. And when you think about obviously you might not know them as well as everyone else who's been in the community a little bit longer would know, but when you think about their plan in terms of building a team, for both of them, it's always been get the best players. I mean, Seven Deadly Sins had a team at the time when it was a silver league of Kui and Dever, Laudio. So you could you could imagine like that's kind of the mentality that team had. Yeah. So that's when people
such a sandbag.
So when you see Wakada Shui with 4 titles, you got to remember who his teammates were on those teams as well.
Yeah. Having played against Jack quite a bit, yeah, he definitely got carried by his teammates.
So there's that, but then obviously to be fair to them, they often had a good team environment. It was usually just Harshy, who just everyone bullied. But obviously then World Saves Lives happens and the team gets taken over. That's when Silverbacks obviously played in the last split. And then you start to see how the team atmosphere really never took a priority for that team.
Yeah.
I mean, Alex will admit that himself and say, I don't care about being friends. I'm here to win. I think is a word for word quote near enough to what he said when I was on the team briefly.
It's pretty much what I was told when I joined WSL.
Yeah, and it's
we're not here to be friends. We're here to win.
And it's like fair enough. Like if that's how you find enjoyment, you can't knock it in the same way you can't knock Kensai Haven for historically being a team of just mates, which is obviously prioritizing team atmosphere than it is winning. So obviously, I like it.
Oh yeah.
So obviously
sponsorship,
you've got
please sponsorship. Sponsor Trigger so he can make more podcasts and get more drunk.
I mean that's the goal, isn't it? Smirnoff, we love that. But you've got these teams that favour one over the other, and when you get a team that tries to favour both, so for example, Centurion previously, back before the new rendition, was a team of me trying to build a good team atmosphere and a competitive team, and then you had the likes of, say, Nightmare Thor, who was already carry at the time. He was probably underperforming over the last couple of weeks and had personal stuff going on at the same time, which just caused the team to be less good. And then there's a time where back when Kiss was on it, he wanted to bring in Luke. Obviously, Luke that's recently been banned as a coach, and I was like, I don't want that to happen. Where I'm trying to, these are things where I'm favouring team atmosphere over team performance, but ultimately, I wanted us to be the best team in the league, and in the end, we made it to semi-finals in Shell 1, semi-finals in Shell 2, semi-finals in the Hex Tech Cup, and quarter-finals in the playoffs. And it's like, you can see how we're a good team, but we're never quite competitive. That's where you notice the difference with WSL is they're not so much caring about the team atmosphere, and they say we're going to make sacrifices to win, we're going to win, and then they won consistently every single time.
Yeah,
So
and it's
how?
definitely like a, it's definitely a like a there's a balance to it, because if you're just there to have fun and be friends, then you won't care where you finish anyway, because you're just playing fives together and having some fun.
Yeah.
And then if you're just playing to win, when you're winning, it's great. Like, when you, but we had like the odd scrim where we would lose, and the atmosphere would plummet immediately.
How did you get it
So
back up after
Stone got banned.
that? Fair enough.
Yeah.
Because that was a situation where, I mean, no offense to Stone, but everyone knew the weak point on WSL. And granted, Stone was, I think, entirely picked based off the point restriction that you had in Group C, if I remember correctly.
I don't know if that's the case, but obviously I was only brought in about a week or two before the split started, because Stronger was having like internet issues or something like that. So Luxor got in contact with me and was just like, "Hey, look, we're looking for a sub on WSL. Do you want to come over?" I think I was supposed to be Green's sub when I joined,
Ended up being Red's main. There you go.
and then ended up starting for Red. So yeah.
So you've got Horizon now. How are you intending to strike that balance of atmosphere and winning? Because Horizon Light unbeaten so far, and obviously
Doing really well.
You've got NSK coming up shortly, who is obviously going to be the big game. Have you already had them?
We haven't. I think we played
Plague
Deja
played
Vu. Yeah, we played Deja Vu on Monday.
Deja Vu on Monday. Yeah, because
We
obviously.
play a Nicholas Deja Vu. So.
Oh, pressure. Because I think the teams in your group that you've now got to look out for really are NSK Academy, whose only game they dropped was Plague Academy, who have only played one game, who were beating NSK. So you'd argue that NSK were one of these top tier teams battling with Horizon Light on a pretty level playing field. Obviously, Scrims would say otherwise, but from a neutral perspective, Play come in and just say no, NSK aren't going to win. Obviously, that doesn't really put Horizon Light in any kind of area within those three. So these are the games you're looking out for. So how are you thinking that's going to go?
I personally think that, and I could just be biased to it because they're my team,
of course,
but I personally think Light are the best team in that group. So I don't think we've only had one scrim session against NSKA, and it went well for us. We ended up throwing one game because sometimes they fucking switch their brains off when they get too far ahead. But I know where NSKA's strong points are. I think I have enough like league knowledge and have seen them play enough times to know where NSKA are strong and how to stop NSKA from beating you. And then for Plague are a little bit more of a like mystery to me.
Yeah.
But Bufu, Plague's AD carry, me and him were teammates for like 6 months. He was Horizon Light's sub until he went over to Plague Academy.
Right, okay.
So he's a player that I know how he plays.
And do you think one player is enough
the way
to...
he thinks. I think one important player. I think if you could single out a mid laner or an AD carry or a jungler and shut them down, you can win a game just off of shutting down one player. Just by understanding exactly how one player plays, you can, at least in my opinion, you can make the game 4v5.
Okay.
Just like that.
I mean, it's hard to argue with Horizon Light's success at the moment, but I want to take that same argument and bring that argument now through to Div 1, where Horizon Shadow, they're not looking like no slouch, but what are you 1-1 at the moment?
I think we're 1-1. We beat Wixley, and then we lost to Volpine.
Lost to Vulpine, yeah. And obviously
Yeah.
Vulpine, no one really considered to be a shout. Obviously, no one considered you guys to be a shout. Really, everyone thought it was going to be a 3-horse race, and obviously, it's not turned out that way for Paradox or Mega Lol. But we're now looking at Vulpine, who are I think third in the standings. You guys are in fourth.
Yeah.
And obviously, you guys haven't played against Centurion or Plague yet, but that's obviously going to be the next question to ask: is how good really is this team? When you face the two teams which historically are the top two, at least from last split.
Yeah.
So you're against players there that are known players. Daddy J's been in the league for over a year. Rodio's been in the league for even longer than that. Ruben over a year. You've got Latt who's been here over a year. Quee who's been here since the beginning of time. Centurion, a very similar thing for everybody except obviously Pyro Tom, who's a new player. Are you able
That's
to
the jungler, right?
Yeah, the jungler, yeah. How are you gonna now put this theory you've got? If you can shut down one player, if you know how a player plays, you can shut him down, play 5v4, and win the game off it. Are you gonna be able to apply that to Horizon Shadow versus these teams?
I think, in theory, we can apply it. In theory, I think we understand who are the focal points for both teams and how to stop those focal points from thriving and beating us. Putting it into execution is like a whole different thing because at the moment, they look like Horizon Shadow they look like two different teams. In scrims, they look incredible. Like we've taken games off of everybody in scrims. I think we have like winning records over Paradox in scrims. And it's quite even with Centurion and Plague. But then on actual VL games, I don't know what it is. There's a few issues that we have, and I think I can be put to blame for like 50% of the issues that we're having, or I feel like I'm giving the team too much leniency and not like exert because with Light I'll exert I'll say to them, I think you should be doing this. You should do this in draft. I'll be like, we're playing this, but then with Shadow, I give them more leniency and I let them because they're supposed to be better players. I let them
Supposed to
have
be being the
more.
key word in
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I let them have more autonomy, where I think I should just have more confidence in like what I think we should be doing, and then if it goes wrong, it's all on me. Whereas now, where it doesn't go.
Do you think as a player you're better than all 5 players of Horizon Shadow?
No.
No. And do you
No.
think
I don't think I would have been on Horizon Shadow, but we managed to get Brian's points or Akawa's points reduced, which meant we could pick up Con. And I was like, fucking grab him, mate. Get him in the team.
Yeah.
I won't play, just grab Con.
So, do you think that's potentially part of the reason of why you're less dominant with
Probably,
that
yeah.
team? If that,
Yeah.
if you say something and they're just like, "Are you fucking retarded?" Obviously, that's not the case. Are you scared that something
Yeah.
like that might not scared, but
I don't
wary?
think. Yeah, I think they're all big enough people that when we disagree with each other, we talk about it. We're not just like, oh, you're a fucking idiot, fuck off, shut your mouth, get out of here, like, don't be a dickhead. Like people will listen to your argument and they'll take it in, and I respect them all as people for that. But I do feel like because I feel like most of them are better players than me, that they should know better than me.
Yeah, and then
So I
that
let
leads
them
to
kind of.
these.
It leads to like performances like we had against Volpine on Thursday, which is
So
bad.
if Horizon Shadow are performing at their best, do you think they can win the split?
At their best, it'd be pretty hard to win the split right now, considering results. Because I feel like we would have needed to have gone unbeaten.
I mean, if you beat every other team from this point, you are at the very minimum joint top.
Joint top with Centurion, right? Yeah. If they play at their best, there's definitely a possibility. I think realistically, we're probably the third best team in the group, and I think they would agree with me as that when even at our best we can beat any team, but anyone can beat anyone. So when you average it out over an entire split, I think we should be finishing the split third.
Right, okay. And then that obviously brings on to the question of what's the point? Because when teams, and this can apply to any team in any group, of when you finish a split and you didn't win, you didn't even put up a fight of winning. Like Centurion Academy at the moment can't make playoffs unless Incoterm lose to Hentai Haven, but we're not predicting that to happen. So we've got to ask the question: what's the point? Why are we going to continue
Yeah.
playing out the split? So you guys aren't predicting to come first. You still could, but we're not predicting it, and nobody else is. And I think that's fair to say that you're going to come third. Obviously, if results go your way. What's the point? What is this going to have some level of distance, Horizon Shadow? Are you going to try and keep the same 5 players? Are you going to be a couple of changes, maybe, depending on performance?
I mean, I already know of one player that will at least be role swapping between splits. The overall plan is hopefully just to keep them all together, or as many of them together as possible, because I think the thing that gives Plague and Centurion their advantage in Div 1 is that they've been together for so long.
Yeah.
They understand how they all play. They're so used to playing with each other at this point that I guarantee you every member of Centurion can tell you what Branch is going to do for the first 15 minutes of every game.
I think
because they've
most
played with him
players,
so many times.
I
Most
think
people
most
probably
players in
can,
VL could probably predict
but
it at the very least. Whether they're right is another
Clay
question. But
Clay can tell you exactly what Ruben's going to do for the entire game. They know how they play. Like, and there's a play from top 5 where like Last picks up a quadra, and they don't communicate in fights like how we would in WSL Red. It's almost like they symbiotically know what everyone is going to be doing in a fight. I think that just comes through experience of playing with each other. I think if we kept the same 5 people and went into next split, we could challenge for first.
so 2 points based off that is I don't want to give too much credit with that thing that you're saying. If you're saying they're not talking in fights, and you think there's some symbiotic link and this knowledge of how each other plays to make it work, I think you're giving them an excuse there and complimenting for something that, to be honest, you probably don't deserve. What in actual fact it probably is they've got 3 very good mechanical players and 2 supportive
Yeah.
players on their team, and they just out mechanic people and have some level of knowledge of the game. I think probably they're not well enough coordinated as a team to talk how they should be talking in a team fight. If that's what's happening, because even if they're that good, they should still be talking just in case. Just in case
I mean,
someone misses something.
they are sandbaggers, so you could be right there. Like, you could be right. No,
And
I think but it's definitely a thing because on SCS, it would happen to us in fights.
where you just go
We
quiet.
we would go quiet, but we would all still be targeting the right people every single time. We wouldn't need to call things out unless something like surprising, like a surprising flank would happen. Then that would get called out, and we could all just instantly turn.
Yeah, I mean,
When
obviously,
you spend enough time with people, you understand how most fights are very similar. And if if you discuss before the game how you should be playing your fights out, you shouldn't really need to talk during fights. Everybody should know what they're trying to do in every situation.
it's an
Then
interesting point. I'd be interested to see what everyone watching this thinks and whether they agree with you or not. Maybe it's just because I've never been on a team long enough and had that link to know it.
you need to stop getting you need to stop leaving and role swapping, man. That's your problem.
Going back to support next split. Um, and yeah, the second link is obviously talking about teams staying together for a while. And does that equal success? Because obviously, for a team like Centurion Academy now, obviously I've got a choice as an owner of we did not look good in the 2 series we played. Now, as an owner, you'd think, okay, I don't want to. I've got maybe 4 options of keep the team together, hope we improve, change 1 or 2 players, change the whole team, or just end the team. And they're the options now I've got to think as an owner. And that first one is obviously always the one you want to go with. Stick as the one team. Just as a human being, I think, is what you naturally want to go with. But success has got to come with that. And that obviously adds more questions to me. And at this point, I'm still not 100% sure about what I'm going to do. So that's, I think, not the point I was trying to make anyway. But when you look at teams that stick together, obviously, Plague and Claytrons, and Bob are kind of the main three that has. Centurions stick pretty much together, Paradox now. But like historically, we're looking at Claytrons, right? Of this team that when they joined, they were around, they were competitive, but things just never really went their way. A couple of changes, Flyers left, they brought in Otari and Valk in the bot lane now, but they've kept Shenzhen and Key together. Obviously, Beegs eventually come in, but they seem to be the team that sticks together the most. And
Yeah.
now we're seeing a team that last split they made it to semi-finals. Oh, sorry, the split before last split they made it to semi-finals. Last split they won Group B, but they still won. They went unbeaten, and now this split they are battling for winning Div 2. Yes, they
Yeah.
lost the game, but they're still battling. That series could have potentially gone either way if Shenzhen wasn't drunk or whatever it was that caused that to be the way that it was. I've done it myself, so I can't blame him too much. But it doesn't mean that they're out of the running. So you look at that and it's like, yeah, great trajectory. Them sticking together has clearly worked for them. But then you look at a team like Bob, who have really never been that successful. Obviously, there was a little
Yeah.
bit towards the end of 2 splits ago where they got good wins against Ike and CLT. Last split, I think they finished second. This split, it's not looking too great for them. And granted, Div 3 is looking like a relatively competitive division compared to what it was in
Compared to last split, yeah.
compared to last split. How much can you put to a team sticking together? How much can a team improve really after about 2 to 3 months, in your opinion?
I mean, I think what you need to look for in that is how your best players help your worst players improve, right? So how obviously like if you've got like your best player is your mid laner, he's hands down your best player, and everybody else is like subpar. If you stay together, if you've got a decent enough coach, the coach and the mid laner can help everybody improve their macro, thus making the whole team better. But then again, on the flip side of that, you could just find people that are already better.
Well, yeah, that's comparing, but I'm thinking of how much could a team actually improve. So if this team is sticking together, right, and you have got a good coach and you have got a better player that could teach them things, at one point, yes, there's going to be a level of improvement when the synergy grows, when people understand their roles. That's going to be there. That's going to make the team perform better. But making the individuals within the team better to then make the team better. Usually, a team becomes greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
how do you
yeah.
make the parts better to make the greater better, if that makes sense? Because obviously, it's a problem that I've come across, like in multiple different teams that I've coached, and particularly in Centurion Academy as well, where this team's been now
Are you looking?
been together. Sorry.
You looking for me to fix Centurion Academy for you? Is that what
Well,
this question's for?
no, maybe, but I'm just saying as an example that there's been times
Yeah,
where you will tell someone the same thing over and over and over again, and they just can't quite get it. So the question is, how far can a team actually improve, or is there going to be a cut-off point where fundamentals just stop that happening?
I think the thing to roughly answer the question, I think it it depends on like a player to player basis, right?
Yeah.
If people are putting the effort in, if people are constantly trying to get better, they shouldn't really ever stop getting better, because if you think about the relative skill level of where this league is to like the top skill level of League of Legends, it's so low down that as long as you're putting the effort in, you should just be able to continuously get better
Yeah.
as a team or as a player. So I think it just depends on like a player to player basis, and if you like are aware like of the players actually putting the effort in and trying to do it, and like, you know, researching videos, put in 15 games of solo queue in a day, you know, like actually playing and practicing and putting effort in, I don't see how there could be a ceiling to it where you couldn't become the best team in VL by doing that as a team, because you learn people's champion pools, you learn the way that people play champions, you learn what people's tendencies are. You can create synergies in even just like swapping tower aggro. Like Horizon Light at this point, they've only been together for so long, but they know how to swap tower aggro. and they know what they should be doing and when they should be calling. I've got aggro, I'm stepping out after the next shot, and they communicate that. And that's something that can be taught and also can just be picked up by playing with each other.
Yeah.
But it's like an effort-based system, so the more effort you put in, the greater the rewards you have.
Yeah. That's
At least in
fair.
my opinion.
Yeah, but obviously it's only going to come from each other's experience, and obviously I'm not going to sit here and say that my brain capacity is massive, so it's probably just on me. But there we go. But let's go back to where we were. So you did your Sons of Capri Sun, you put in your application, now you're joining WSL, right? And you just joined
Yeah.
us to be this sub. Obviously, you've got Stronger that can't play because of internet issues, and you come in. So explain what it was like to play on that team, all the way to when it ended and how it ended, and really the detail and the juicy bits of that.
Okay, so when I joined, Luxa and Alex both told me that, look, you'll play for the first two, like they'll put me in scrims for whilst I'm there. I'll play for the first 2 game weeks, and then when Stronger's back, they will try Stronger out again, and then Alex will make the decision over who gets the starting spot. So I always assumed that I was just going to be there. I was going to play the first 2 weeks, hopefully make a good impression, and then look for a starting spot somewhere else. But Stronger actually got back before the split started, which made things like really awkward. But me and Alex spoke about what the problems that Red were having were. So Stronger and Stone just weren't communicating with each other properly. And I'm quite a vocal person.
I mean, gobshite, yeah, I could tell, but carry
Yeah.
on.
I'll constantly talk. I'll speak my mind, but it's something that I had to at the start. I had to force myself to do it at WSL because it felt awkward going into these 4 people that had been together already for like a month at this point, playing with each other and doing all this shit, and it felt awkward to go in and be like, no, listen to me, this is what we should do. No, Stone, don't play like a fucking retard. Step up and kill some minions. Stop using your Ezreal Q to farm waves. Like, there was some stepping stones at the start and like some tripping points, and it didn't go well to begin with. Because if you watch, I don't know, it's from the the little VL intro video thing.
Yeah.
It has the first game WSL versus OPN clips in there, and in the clips, you literally see me miss 4 of the easiest Morgana Qs ever. And that's in the VL intro thing, which just tilts me every single fucking time I see it. Yeah, and we got to I played the first 2 weeks, and they never brought up Stronger coming back, so I just kept scrimming with the team and playing. I'm sure that people are already aware of this, but there were like some issues between Ice and Stoned. They didn't really like. I don't want to put words in each other's mouths, but they didn't really, at least from my opinion, or from outside looking in, they didn't really like each other. They had argued with each other whilst like in scrims and stuff. At one point, Ice was looking to leave the team, and I think it was because of Stoned.
Yeah.
But because we kept winning, I don't think anyone wanted to leave. And
so
yeah,
just to go back a little bit. So Stronger's obviously 2 weeks going to go by. He's going to come back in.
yeah.
Ah, shit, I'm back. This is my team. If I'm Stronger, that's what I'd be thinking. Now, obviously, it never really got brought up to you, but do you know if there was ever a conversation and if there's any kind of feeling that Stronger was just left high and dry and not really cared for?
So I think it was like 2 weeks before the end of the split. I don't remember what game it was, but like, Luxa came into our call, I think after a scrim, and started talking to us about it. And I think he'd like spoken to Alex about it previously, about like how he felt like Stronger had just been like left out to dry because we hadn't brought Stronger back in and we hadn't played Stronger in any scrims at all. And me and Stronger had spoken over voice, and I was like, yeah, man, they should just give you times in scrims, and whoever's better out of us should just play. I had like no hard feelings about it. If he was better than me, he should be playing over me.
But obviously, you
Um,
came in with the expectation of I'm going to be a sub that fills in for a few games.
yeah,
He
yeah,
came in with the
but,
expectation I'm the
but
starting support.
yeah, exactly.
Especially after all the
Um,
tryouts that WSL did for that split. So I can't help but think that there's got to be some level of emotion behind it for Stronger. I mean, is there any
yeah,
inkling of any of that?
I can't speak for Stronger personally, but from when we did speak about it, I felt like he was maybe a little bit annoyed. Um, and it had gone on so long that he was just like, eventually he was just like, well, you just play the rest of the split out, and then when the tryouts come around for next split, we'll just both go for the same spot and see who gets it.
Yeah.
It went on for so long without Stronger getting played that Stronger was just like, there's not really much point now. I would just be coming in and
Have to
breaking up
regrow
a
to
team that
everything.
already has synergy,
Yeah.
And then Stoned ended up getting banned, so,
Yeah.
so we had to do that anyway.
It's definitely a weird situation. Based off the discussion that I've had with Kraft as well on the previous podcast,
Mm.
would you say it's accurate that WSL is a team that won't give a shit about you as a player, but at least you'll get the win?
I'd probably say that about Fatal and Luxor. They care more about winning
I'm not even going to say
than
more. I'm going to say at all. They don't care about you as a player, but
I don't
you
think
will get the
I
win.
don't think I didn't really have a lot of interaction with Fatal. The most interaction I had with Fatal was when there was an argument about whether Elise was a good pick or not.
How long did that go
Um,
on for? 40, 30 minutes? Something like
it went on for a long time.
that?
It ended up with like all of WSL Red sort of being like, no, you're a fucking idiot, and WSL Green all being like, okay guys, can we just stop now? Like, it's getting too much. Yeah. But I would solo queue and duo queue with Luxor a lot. Not a lot, but we played a lot together. I felt like, he was somebody that he cared more about winning for the overall org, but he wouldn't like just shit on you like for no reason.
Yeah.
Like he would shit on you if you played like shit because he cared about you playing well,
Yeah.
but he wouldn't just come in and mouth off for nothing.
That's fair. I
But
think it's one of the more interesting orgs that VL's ever seen, WSL. And it
it
just
was definitely an experience.
yeah, I think it's interesting to get everyone's opinions on that. But anyway, Stone gets banned. What was the team atmosphere like then? Were people slightly happy that a change had to be forced?
Stone got banned 30 minutes before our game against Fireflies. Literally logged into his league account to start warming up for the game and messaged us like, "Ah, boys, I've been banned. I've got a 2-week ban." So with zero prep, we had to get Alex to come in and play top lane, move Thomas from top lane to mid, and move Arbush from mid to ADC. So me and Arbush should never lane together, and we had to lane together against Fireflies. And I think at the time they had their Smurf AD carry still. It was before he got banned.
Yeah.
Because we lost that game. Like, we lost to them in that game. And then, lucky for us, their AD carry got banned, so we got the win back.
Obviously, that wasn't even a team that was really doing that well as well. So you
Yeah,
realistically
no.
lost a game. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably went undefeated. I don't know how it ended up going out, but realistically, you weren't an
Yeah.
undefeated team when you think about it that way. Was it obviously synergistics?
I think there was both because we weren't used to playing with the setup, and because I think all of us were a little bit tilted that it had happened. We were all a
Yeah.
bit like, well, this is fucked us. I can't believe that this has fucking happened. Like, we told Stone, like, you need to chill out in solo queue. Like, every time I duoed with him, I was always like, Stoned, man, fucking relax. Like, calm down. So I think it was like mental and synergistic. I think we probably could have won if we weren't, or like, on edge is probably the right way to describe it.
Yeah. How did you turn
The
that
second
around then?
we played a lot together. We played a lot of games. I think, and again, I don't want to speak for Ice or Ice at all. But I think after Stone left, it helped Ice's mental within the team
Yeah.
because him and Stone didn't really get along. And Arbush, I think he played AD carry the split before, hadn't he?
He played it for a bit, yeah. He played it for a bit on Deja
Yeah.
Vu, but then I think he role swapped. Can't remember in the end.
So it wasn't much of a change. And then having Thomas mid lane meant we didn't have somebody 50-50 in top lane every game, which was really nice. Because he would just like start fights and tower dive and stuff like that. So when he played mid, he did it less often.
At least then he had a jungler.
Yeah. On the whole, I think we definitely played better that way. We were a better team. It was, and I don't want to rag on Stone, but
so if I was to ask you the question, if you had to play on one of those teams for another split, it would be the second iteration, not the first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's also because, especially at the start, I had to micromanage Stone a lot. He's not very vocal. He will, or at least he would, openly just lose a lane to not die.
Yeah.
He'd be fine giving up 50 CS in lane just to not die.
That's
which
pretty
is
fucking
obviously
ridiculous.
it's obviously a bit of a problem. So, whereas Arbush would be more willing to step up and trade, and he was also a lot more open. Sorry, my cat is attacking something right next to me. He was also a lot more open to like going in if I'd say, all right, we can fight here.
That's obviously what you want as a support, innit?
Yeah.
So obviously then the split finishes and you do well. Shit gets better. Obviously Silverback pops off in the final. I reckon he loved that. A little bit of a throwback to him winning everything that he's ever been in. But
he said, "I'm massive" so many times in that second game against NSK. He was just like, "I'm huge, boys. I'm huge."
And he wasn't talking about his champion.
No.
And then but then it ends. Then the split ends. You win. Congratulations. You are one of very few people in VL that have a little hypothetical medal around your waist. Waist?
Yeah.
Chest, neck. You know what I mean?
I'll have it around my waist.
Yeah.
If
Why
it's that
not?
big.
I was thinking of like WWE. You know, like a
World
World
title
Heavyweight
belt.
Championship. Yeah. Split ends. In that situation, did you think that the team was staying together? Or did you know that tryouts were going to happen? Or did you know that, because Alex was leaving, that it was just going to die straight away?
I already knew that Alex was leaving. I knew that Thomas was leaving. I was pretty sure that Ice and Arbush were leaving as well, because I was almost positive that Alex was the only reason Ice and Arbush were there in the end. And then I was kind of like in two minds of whether to like stay or go. I signed up for the tryouts and I was going to take part in the tryouts, but obviously they like collapsed. But I knew that WSL Red as the team wasn't going to be the same team.
Yeah.
I already knew that it was going to be like, if I got the spot on WSL Red, I knew it was going to be me and 4 brand new people that I'd never played with before.
And was that an appetizing prospect? Because how much of, I mean, this is probably the best question to ask, is would you rather play with that second iteration of WSL Red with, Silverback top and Arbush and everything, with Luxor and Fatal, or without Luxor and Fatal if you had to do it again?
So that the second iteration of WSL Red with Luxor or Fatal, or without Luxor and Fatal?
Yeah.
Without for sure. I mean, I never really spoke to Fatal too much, but from everything that I saw from what he did in terms of like his pick ban strategy and his lack of communication with the players, I knew that I never wanted Fatal to coach me, and if I got put on Red like for the next split and they turned around and was like, and Fate was going to coach, I instantly would have just been like, all right, see you later, boys, I'm done.
So by that, do you have any not admiration, that's the wrong word, but any kind of positive nostalgic feeling towards WSL as an org, or was it just the experience you had on it?
I really enjoyed playing with the boys. So like, Ice, Arbush, Thomas, Alex, and Stone. I enjoyed playing with all of them. Um, I'd happily play with any of them again. Maybe less so Thomas because it was a fucking pain to get him to do his solo queue games. But I'd happily be on a team with any of them again.
Right, okay. But
But
for
I don't have
WSL,
any like I don't have any like love for the org at all. No,
and it is
like
is that something that's changed now you've got Horizon? Do you feel some level of attachment to it aside from just being the name that you've called it or the logo that it is or anything like that? Do you feel like there's some kind of fatherly bond with this?
I mean, I guess so. I think when because obviously the difference is I didn't put any effort into WSL the org.
Yeah.
I played 6 best of 3s for them, or whatever it was, and that was it. Whereas for Horizon, I spent a month and a half doing tryouts for 2 different teams. I've been to countless scrims. We've had all the games that we've played already. I've played a lot of solo queue and flex with the boys together. Even just setting up the Discord server was like hours worth of work for me. So
That's that boomer brain trying to do something on a
yeah,
computer.
innit?
It's
Yeah.
like, what's going on? That's a space bar. Holy shit.
The amount of times I had to be like, so Alex, how do you do this on Discord? But yeah, I think it's mainly just because of the amount of effort put into stuff. I didn't organize any scrims on WSL. I just turned up to scrims,
Yeah. So,
Um,
I mean, you've written down as a point, because obviously you've written down a list of things that you wanted to talk about, and one of those things is what running teams is like. Obviously, it's something we've got in common, but I think the fact
yeah,
that you wrote that there's got to be something that you want to make sure that you say on the topic. So, if you were to
yeah.
explain into someone that's never run a team, someone that's played in VL, just kind of, over and over. Maybe something like Ice, right? Ice has always been on a team. He's always put a lot of effort into a team, but he's never ran a team as far as as far as I know. He might have done, but as an example of someone that you've played with, what would you say to him to noteworthily say this is what running a team's like, and the good parts and the bad parts?
I would probably I would describe it as it's essentially a job, and it's like having a job. I have to invest so much time into it, and then I still at the moment feel like I don't put enough time into it,
Yeah, you'll always feel that,
despite
mate.
despite how much I already do. I'm there like, I could do more. I could, I could stay up and scour every single player's last 500 days worth of picks and come up with an optimal bands for every single game and every single scrim. And but it's too much work. You could do that, but you don't get paid for it.
do
So
you?
it's like a labor of love.
Yeah. Do you get? There are two questions. I'll let you continue. Do you think the team knows how much you actually do? Not only physically in terms of the stuff that you do, but also how much you think about it and how much effort you put into it and emotion you put into it. And the second part of that is, do you think you get enough appreciation for it?
Uh, I'll answer the second question first. I don't do it for appreciation. I don't do it for anyone's like.
Okay, recognition then, rather than
I
appreciation.
wouldn't. I wouldn't expect them. Especially not because I've not played with any of these boys before. I've not been on a team with any of these boys before. They don't know me from 6 months ago to me from now.
Yeah.
Um, so I wouldn't expect them. If I were them, I would just assume, well, he wants to do this, so he should be doing this.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't expect it of them. If it was someone that if it was like Agritar was on the team and he knows me from fucking a year ago to now, I'd expect him to be like, "You're putting in like a lot of effort for this, thanks, man."
Yeah.
Because they don't know me from Adam or Eve.
Yeah, it's just this is
Just,
what Cliff does. Cliff puts
that's
effort
what
in. He
yeah,
doesn't have a personal
exactly,
life. He just lives for
exactly,
this.
exactly. Yeah. And
But do
now
you
I've
think they
forgotten the
just
first
yeah?
question.
Do you think they realize actually how much time, effort, and emotion you'll put into it? So say not just the stuff that you physically do, not just the message of written Discord and added everybody, but the thought
Mm.
into you're thinking about the match against Volpine for the last like 8 hours and just thinking about what draft you're going to do or whatever it may be, or the post
Yeah,
match where you're thinking about how not only what you've said to deal with that post match, but also how long you've been thinking about it, the trials and tribulations of your only thought process is saying, can I criticize him, or
yeah.
will
I
that
mean,
make something else happen?
I'd like to think they're at least slightly aware of it, because I'll be open and honest with them with how I'm feeling about situations. If I feel like I specifically said to them after the Volpine game is watching you play that game and watching you in scrims. It's like I'm watching two completely different teams, and I don't understand why it's happening. I don't get what the difference is between those games and these games and why you play them differently. Don't know if you heard that.
Just a
That was
bit.
a massive bang. So I like to think that they at least, because I'd like to think that they have the same sort of emotional investment or mental investment.
Do you think that they do?
I'd like to think they do. I think some of them do for sure. Some of them definitely do.
Anyone you want to shout out particularly and give him praise on the podcast?
Particularly Mithy. Mithy has like surprised me a lot in like how committed he is to being better and playing well and being a good teammate. And he's the captain for life, so you'd expect it a little bit, but he has surprised me a lot with how well he's done, and because he's only young. Mithy's real young.
How old is he?
I think he's like 15.
Oh, is he actually? He seemed
Yeah, I
older.
think he's like 15. Yeah, he's got quite I'd say an old head on him, but and he puts effort in. And when I say to him like, Mithy, can you do this for me? He'll just go and do it.
Yeah.
He won't be like, oh, but I'd rather. Oh, can you get someone else to do it? He'll just be like, yeah, sure, and go and do it.
Ask him to jump. He asked how high. It's kind of
Yeah,
situation. Yeah.
kind of situation like that. Yeah, he will. He won't question why he needs to do it. He'll just be like, sure, yeah, I'll do it.
So it brings me to the next point, and obviously a discussion that I had with Kraft on the previous podcast was comparing Looney and Silverback as coaches. Obviously, these are people that we'd consider as probably the best coaches that VL's had. However, when you think about it, most coaches in VL don't actually talk in VL. They're very hidden behind their own team servers and what they say and the work that they put into it. But I think we can very easily set those two coaches as a benchmark, and based off Kraft's answer, Silverback is the benchmark. If you compare yourself to him, are you better?
I put more effort in. I mean, he specifically said to me after the WSL split that he would have liked to put more effort in than he did put in.
Yeah, but just like you said, everyone's going to feel like that.
Everyone's going to feel like that. I don't know. Just on track record, I couldn't argue that I'm better than him.
No, but
give me two splits and I'll answer that question again. And I'll give you a real clear answer if I think I'm better or not.
No, but surely you can feel a way about it, because I'm not talking the results. I don't give a shit about that. You can have Sir Alex Ferguson managing Tranmere. It doesn't mean Tranmere is going to win the Champions League. Do you know? It's not the point I'm making. I'm saying the day-to-day you dealt with Alex as a player, and day-to-day you deal with the 10 plus members of Horizon as a coach / manager. So you've got to have more of an understanding than, well, off the results I can't say anything. You can say something. What's he got that's better than you? What do you do that's better than what he did? And then overall, where would you fall ultimately?
I think compared to him, he did more, and it's something that I want to do, but he did more individual stuff. He would like get me and Stoned in a call, just me, him, and Stoned, and we'd go over our laning phase, and he'd talk to us about what we did wrong and what we did right and how we think we can do better, which isn't something I do.
Yeah.
But I think I take more precedence over in our pre-games. I make sure everybody gets there like an hour early. I make sure we're talking about what we want to do as a team, what we want to pick, what we're scared of them playing. So we'll all sit down together and watch the streams like the other Div 3 games and Div 1 games together, and go over how we think teams are winning and what we think their strong points are and what we would do to counteract them, which is what I was saying before. Like,
Yeah.
I think I have a better understanding of team strong points and how to stop them, which isn't really something we would do on Red. We would just go into games and be like, we're the better team. We don't need to worry about that.
I mean, I'd say that. I mean, it's certainly not something I've done. I've looked. I go very in depth into champion picks, draft, the way, the order that they draft, and kind of what team comps they go for. I mean, I can take the game against Incoturn as an example. I knew that they were going to preference the Kai'Sa because they've got a dive composition style with Barrow and Platypus in the jungle mid lane. I know that their top lane is going to favour Mundo whenever that champion's available. If not, he'll fall to some other kind of tanky champion that's not going to die. And the support's preferably just going to enable the AD carry. If they've got Kai'Sa, they'll pick Nautilus. If they've got Ezreal, they'll pick Yuumi. That kind of situation. But it will mainly be to do with that. And I knew that. Now, granted, the games didn't go in our favour, and you've got to say they were the better team on the day, but that's the area that I know. I know how that they're going to favour and what champions they're going to preference based off draft and stuff. But I don't then go and watch a whole VOD of a team and say, this is what they other than maybe obviously WSL Green last split, who obviously were just going to rotate to Rift Herald and then go back to lane, which is what they did every fucking game. But other than that, which, you know, gotta give credit to Fatal, he drilled it into them. Other than that, I never really had this real understanding of maybe they ward here, maybe their jungler paths this way. And I say if that's something that you do, that's really going to be unique to Horizon out of everyone, really.
We will watch scrims and pick apart like the stylistic ways that teams play as well as doing the draft stuff. So just from the draft example, we knew that Bob liked playing with Corki. So game one, we first picked Corki. To take Corki away from them and show them that we play Corki too. We win the game on Corki. And obviously, because Jaded plays Corki so much, he knows what does well against Corki. So we don't ban Corki, even though we know we're not picking it straight away. They first pick Corki. We let the draft go on and go, okay, yeah, cool. We can just pick Aurelia because Aurelia still works here and Aurelia destroys Corki in lane.
Yeah.
So we pick the Aurelia, we take the Aurelia into the game, and it's almost like we've baited them into letting us have this hyperscaling champion that does well against Corki, that will shut Corki down and go into the late game ahead.
And we're going to transition that very nicely on to the best of 3 versus best of 1 debate.
Yes.
So you've given a perfect example there of what a best of 3 can do. Should a team put the effort into abusing the fact it's a best of 3 rather than playing solo queue 3 games in a row and hoping that you win? I want to ask initially, what's your stance? So to broaden the question and give you kind of set answers, we had continue as it is with best of 3s and a single round robin, which is obviously a relatively short split. We've got the exact same option, and I think it was I can't remember who brought this up in the first place. Never mind. Who said a double round a double round robin, but best of 1.
It was C, wasn't it?
It was C, yeah, and ultimately that would take exactly the same amount of time, exactly the same amount of weeks as that one, where you're getting best of 1s, but more games are streamed, and you get to have a team evolution. You get the storyline of, well, yes, Centurion Academy lost to, no, we'll use Horizon Shadow lost to Vulpine in week 2, or I suppose technically week 3. Yeah, but then in week 8, they turned around and absolutely slapped him in 15 minutes. So you can see that this is becoming a better team. So yes, they've made playoffs, and so has Vulpine, but we can see that actually the growth of this team is better, which is the argument for best of 1 double round robin. And obviously the argument for best of 3 single round is the series evolution. The fact that you can show this Corki pick, then abuse that Corki pick. So just based off those two, where do you personally fall?
If it's only those two options,
just out of those two, yeah, and we'll branch it out afterwards. But just to get your initial response to these very clear-cut styles,
I think part of competitive League of Legends is part of being a good team is being able to abuse pick and bans. It's about being able to use draft phase to your advantage. So, like, think the problem, I would favor the best of three, just on the premise that the problem with best of ones is, unless you're playing the best of ones back to back, patches change the game completely sometimes. If you play one best of one on like, I don't know, like 10.9 and then the second best of one on 10.13 or something, the game's completely different. There's no draft evolution to the game, it's just team evolution to the game.
But you
There's
don't
nothing
get
you can.
team evolution. You'd get it to a little bit as why have you not
Yeah,
done this? But you don't get team evolution anyway in a best of three because the game is straight after each other.
see,
Is the argument?
that's the difference between the double round robin. Good idea. I think double round robin is a great idea, but I just hate the idea of doing best of ones. I think it's pointless. Anyone can cheese a win over anyone.
Right. Okay.
Like on SES, we had a strategy where we would first pick Veigar, let them counter pick the Veigar mid, and then play Veigar Blitzcrank bot lane, and just hook
Love
people
it.
into the cage and blow them up.
Yeah.
And we could cheese games like that. We would cheese a win with that comp every single time.
But
So
they just. I'm gonna just play devil's advocate. Everyone knows my point of view on the topic, but you can do that in week one, game one. And then maybe in week one, games 2 and 3, they've not quite looked at your pick and ban, and maybe you can do it in all 3 games if they've not checked. Or we'll just say 2 games for the sake of it, just to keep it easy. So you've done that in the first 2 games. Week 2, people then who give a shit, and most teams do, will take a look at the games that were played. Maybe one was on stream.
yeah,
Oh, if they first pick Veigar, it's a flex pick. So you can really only cheese it a maximum of 2 times.
yeah, but there's like what 150 champions in the game.
But this,
How many cheese strats could you think? Do you think you could come up with 150 champions?
well,
I reckon I could come up with a bunch.
if you can think of 2, you can do them in a best of 3.
True, that is definitely true. I just feel like if you ignore just cheese strategy altogether, right? There are some games where I'm like, everybody bans Vladimir against this player, right? Why are they banning Vladimir against this player? Is he really that good on Vlad? I look at his solo queue and I'm like, I don't think he's that good on Vlad. And we let the Vlad through, and then he shits on us with the Vlad.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, right, well, we ban the Vlad then, and we put him on something that he's definitely not as strong at. If he's the best of one, if you do that and you lose, it's like, oh, well, we lost because I made a fucking dumb mistake.
Yeah.
I let him have the Vlad. That's 100% on me, and we lost because of it.
Yeah.
In a best of 3, I could get away with doing that, and then there's still 2 more games afterwards.
Yeah, and again, the same argument would be is if you had a cheese strat, you could just save it till you face Plague, and then just say we're going to use it now. There's the argument is obvious, and you favour your particular one, and you've written here Trigger's super mega awesome new VL format, which I can
drunk
only
when
appreciate.
Drunk when I wrote that. I was definitely drunk when I wrote that. Yeah,
I can only appreciate, but I think it's got legs based off the fact that as soon as I posted it, Ice sent me a DM saying that he actually thinks it's a good idea. And me and Ice never see eye to eye on anything. I think we respect each other. I like him. I don't think he likes me, but I think there's some level of mutual respect. But if he compliments something I do, it means that it's good. It's not just out of being friendly. Which was the idea, and I'll very loosely explain it, and
I've read it.
If I can be asked, it's mainly for the people that are watching, and if I can be asked to, I'll put the link in the description of the video for you guys to then go down and watch it, look at it. So it does go into further detail. Maybe we'll talk about that as well. Is we play 4 splits in the same situation that it is, so it is still best of 3 single round robin, but you get 2 splits, put them together, and get the other 2 splits and put them together, and only have a week break in between. To in essence get the argument of what's the best part about best of 3 single round robin? It's the best of 3. What's the best part about best of 1 double round robin? It's the double round robin. It's this getting to play more and getting there to be some level of evolution. So if you put these 2 splits together, still make them single splits, still make it that if one team's a hell of a lot better than everybody else, they'll get promoted into the next group midway through this double round robin, or so much worse, they'll get relegated in this double round robin that they're still able to do it. However, you're still going to get the likes of Claytrons and Plague Academy in the same group, and this best of 3 will then be replayed in it. And it's the time period is so small that teams aren't going to break up in that time. There might be a couple of roster changes, but you won't get a whole org dropping out that common. At least not the top orgs. The orgs that were competing for second, third, and fourth most likely won't. And that's the ultimate idea. But to make it make more sense, is that in the first split, your position not only will promote and relegate you, but it'll also give you a set amount of points. In the second split, you'll also get a set amount of points. And then rather than getting automatic promotion relegation, those points will be added together and it'll create some level of promotion relegation or playoff system to make it work. And as I say, you can take a look at it. It'll be in the description or in VL or just at me if I've forgotten.
Somewhere in feedback.
Yeah. What's your opinion on that one as a
I
potential
mean,
solution?
I read it. I thought it was a good idea. I thought that because it essentially keeps the splits the same they are now, but adds in like a certain element of double round robin. Because obviously, if you get promoted, technically you're just playing 2 single round robins, but you're in a higher group. I'm definitely all for the reduced downtime between splits. I think Ice has said this a lot. And it's probably one of the main reasons why Ice agrees with you.
Yeah, probably.
The Div 4's downtime is going to be about the same length as the actual split time.
Yeah.
So they're playing, what, 5 games? I think there's 6 teams in Div 4.
No, there's 5 teams. They play 4 games and have 1 off week. So
One
our off week was
and
in week 2.
Then 1 playoff.
Yeah, so for Centurion Academy, we're going to play 1 game, 1 week off. 1 week we play, next week we play, next week we play. Then we don't play the next week because of playoffs. Then Div 1 plays 2 weeks. That's 3 weeks off in a row then because we don't make playoffs. So far, to the start of Div 1 to the end of Div 1, we have played and not played exactly the same amount of weeks.
And then you have the off season.
And then Div 1 still got to play their playoffs. And then there's the off season.
Yeah.
Which means we don't play more than a Div 1 playoff team will make. So Centurion Academy will play less games. We'll play less than half of the games that Centurion play. Which is the current situation. Which, yes, is pretty bad.
Yeah, it's fair enough for there to be an amount of time between, like, amount of time for people to swap teams or people to set up new teams or, that kind of stuff. I get why there needs to be that time. But it's so long for the Div 4 teams at the moment. Like, you're going to have more time off than you had on.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like that will change going into next split either.
Looking at you as probably the best example out of anybody, is I think, other than Arbush, the only person that made 2 teams from scratch in that time period. You are the prime example for having a long time period. You are the advocate and the example for having a longer time period to enable someone such as yourself and someone such as Arbush to make the league better. Without you 2 making 2 leagues, we're not going to get 2 more orgs. Orgs undoubtedly make the league better. It's the reason Centurion, Claytrons and Plague have done it as well. It just makes it better. It makes everything feel more succinct. The league's better because of it. How many weeks did it take you? And how many weeks do you reckon you needed? And would that have made the team worse? Because not only did you need to run tryouts, but you needed to then get all your scrims to be at the same level.
Yeah, I think it took like 2 weeks to make the team. I don't remember how long the downtime was between splits, but thinking back, it seemed quite long.
I think 5 weeks.
It took like 2 weeks to sort the team out, and then I think I did 3 tryout sessions for each team, and then they just went into scrims. And in that time, I managed to get the best Div 3 team and like a middle of the pack Div 1 team. So, yeah, I mean, I think it took me like 2 weeks and then maybe like an extra 2 weeks of scrimming for both teams to be ready. But the Div 3 team were doing their tryouts against the Div 1 team whenever Div 1 team didn't have any scrims available. So I found ways around other teams not scrimming, and I don't think it needs to be as long as it is.
If you only had 3 weeks, so after 2 weeks, Horizon Light is formed. but you've got half the amount of time to scrim and be ready. Because this is going to be the argument against it. If you only got 1 week to be ready, would Horizon Light be first? I know it's easy to say yes because you are, but if you
Yeah.
if you to think about it and try and be neutral, do you think you would be?
Yeah. I think if there was maybe it depends because we found Jaded very last minute. Jaded was the last player we added to the team, and he's the best player on the team. And I think the team won't mind me saying that. So we found him last minute, and I think he played in one tryout, and I was like, "You're in." Half due to time restraints, and half due to me knowing every other mid laner I'd seen at that point wasn't up to his level.
Yeah, and
So
that's one of the weaker roles I think in the thing. So with that, does your argument change at all? Because there are rebuttal and on your
I
side could
think
potentially be that you'll just get jaded for split 2.
yeah, I think the heart. I think yeah, maybe. I mean, I think after finding him, I just would have brought him into as the sub anyway, and just been like, if the mid laner fucks up, Jaded's in. So, and then have looked for an excuse to brought him in.
Yeah.
It would definitely. I think making it shorter. I feel like it was more than 4 weeks. The
I
downtime.
think it was more than 4. This is just an example because
I
you
think it
said
was
you
about
needed
6
4.
weeks.
You said you needed 4. I'm
Yeah.
saying what if you had to have 3? But yeah.
If we had to have 3, I still think we would have been. We still would have been ready. I think we still would have been the best because I would have had the players I already had. We just would have had less time to scrim together.
Right.
But 3 of the people I found played together last split on Special Brigade, so they already had like a form of synergy with each other, and then it was just me filling the gaps, essentially.
So if you were to make your case now for everyone to listen to what the league should look to do. Well, we won't say next split. We'll just say for 2021 what the league should look to do in your opinion, in as much or as little detail. Whether you just want to say this should be this should be this, that should be that, and then it'll be better. However you want to word it, this is your chance now to speak.
All right, I think first thing they should do is try and even the groups out, so the groups have even amount of teams. Because just from looking at how this season is going to pan out, having more people in one group and less people in another group means that you can't start all the groups at the same time, because you get the situation where the Div 4 teams are going to be waiting 6 weeks before they get to play again, because the Div 1 teams split goes on for 2 extra weeks before they even go into playoffs. So you even need to even the teams are up so that there is like, I don't know, 6 teams in each group or whatever it would be, or stagger when the groups start. Don't have the groups all start at the same time. Stagger the start date so there isn't like as big a gaps between groups ending and stuff.
Yeah.
Because if they'd started Div 1 a week before they started all the other groups, I don't think people would have minded, and there would have been at least 1 week less, where the Div 4 teams would have nothing to do.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's a good point.
You can spread the downtime out either side for the smaller groups.
So
I get why they want them all to start at the same time because it makes it easier to organize, but you don't need to do that. You can stagger group start time.
Yeah. Anything else that you'd say that's needed, or is it just that's the main point you want to talk about? So the wait time between splits.
Yeah, I think
what
the
would you
wait
say
time
is the
between...
week? How long would you think it should be?
I think maybe 3 weeks. I think 3 weeks is enough time. 3 weeks is definitely enough time to put one team together. And for teams that are already together, 3 weeks is more than enough time. Like, Plague didn't need 6 weeks. Centurion didn't need 6 weeks. Centurion had to find one player. You didn't need 6 weeks to find one player,
Yeah.
Like 6 weeks to find one player is nice because you can make sure you get the best player possible.
I don't
but you
think
don't
we
need.
did.
He's got mean fiddlesticks, I'll tell you that. Yeah, making the split time smaller is probably better because.
Well, I imagine you'd want both.
Yeah. I mean,
Smaller, stagger the start times, or even groups.
or even groups. Yeah, anything like that would probably make it feel better for the average player. As an owner, I personally am, because I'm not playing, so technically to me it's all downtime. You know, I'm not like
It's all
itching
downtime,
to.
but it's all uptime at the same time.
Yeah, it's all up. It doesn't matter. I'll be doing the same thing when the split ends as I'm doing right now. Essentially, like maybe there'll be like 2 weeks where I don't do anything because I'm like, see you all later. I'm like going on holiday. Like I'm gonna go take a Corona vacation. My fiance is saying yes, please do that. But it doesn't matter too much to me. But I can understand why people that really enjoy playing in the league want the league to be up for as long as possible. If you get what I mean, they want to be playing for as long as they can, as much as they can, because they're into it. That's
Yeah,
my
and
thing.
it's almost impossible to argue with. The main point that Key made was when you look at the split of the last split before we changed, and you look at the splits as they are now, and there's a million not a million, but there's a lot of reasons why you say it's better now, and I'd probably agree overall it is better now. But what you can't argue with is the narrative. You just can't. The narrative of how it was effing brilliant. Fucking brilliant. I'm
Yeah,
allowed to say it, it's my own podcast. But
yeah. I see
fucking
you swear
brilliant.
here. What are you doing?
You had Ike, PMA, and I imagine it was OPN, but it could have been a different team, all on the same amount of points. Like after like a 22 game split for teams to end on exactly the same amount of points, it builds up these hype. You know, WSL beat Ike, but then Ike beat WSL. You had all these stories being brought up. WSL were fourth, but they were winning a lot of the recent games really well. And
Yeah,
you have that thing of where a team loses the first six, but then wins the rest. I mean, you had it with Team Elite in in the split before that, where they lost like 7 on the bounce. They brought in Last instead of an Equitas. They brought in Looney as a coach, and then they went on a fucking steamroll. It was almost impossible for them to make playoffs, but they made the gauntlet. And it's like, fuck me, this team's on fire. Centurion were also in the gauntlet, and we were stagnating. We were peaking and troughing throughout the whole split. It was like, this Team Elite, they could be the best team in the whole league. And we've got to beat them in the gauntlet. We play the gauntlet, we win the gauntlet, and it's like, they were probably the more informed team, and you get this storyline. But then Team Elite go and win the Hextech Cup, beating the team that made the final in the Slowbros, who the Slowbros only ended up losing to Seven Deadly Sins. And it was just like, in the actual split, it's like that narrative and that story and that journey. If you speak to Silverback about the journey that Seven Deadly Sins had to go on, they were never really top. They were always near the top, but never the top, and then they won it. If you speak to any of those players from any of those splits, from those splits, the story and the narrative behind it was inarguable how good it was. It really was great. However, everyone's complaint was it was too long. 60% of the league disbanded or got banned, and it affected the standings. That's the problem with it. But there's certainly something to be said for the narrative, and I think that's what makes it better, and that makes the content of the league better. And that brings me on to my next point, is talking about Cliff's top 5 plays and the content revolution, which is a content renaissance, you called it.
yeah. That's how I put it. Didn't I? I said Renaissance. Yeah.
Um,
I get wordy when I've been drinking.
So obviously, for those that don't know, I got made the. No, we'll do it chronologically. I did the power rankings. Charmander Nerd saw the power rankings and said, I want to do power rankings as well, but for Div 1 and Div 2, so he did. I have a conversation with Joycey. I end up becoming head of content. We start doing the Let It Rip podcast again. We start doing this or that. I encourage Valkyrie to start doing Name It or Flame It again. He had arranged to do it with me and Byron. It just took him a long time to get it done. But because I pushed for it, it ended up happening. Now he's doing it weekly. This or that's happening weekly. The podcast is weekly. Then you pop up and you say, right, I've got an idea. And I didn't agree with the idea at first, did I? Let's be honest. So explain where you were at, what was going through your head when you thought this is what I want to do.
I'm pretty sure when I was on SCS and in VL, somebody was doing it before.
There was 2 versions of it. So Co-Pyrofire or Copyrofire did a version of top 5, and Rock also did a VL Rewind version of a top 5, but he only did it for 2 episodes. But yeah.
Yeah, I thought somebody did it before, and when part of the problem with the VL streams is obviously there's downtime between games because you can't just go straight into game. And when you look at like the top, you look at like LEC or LCS or something, they go to like an analyst desk and they spend like fucking 20 minutes talking shit, you know? Now, obviously, there isn't that much of a downtime in VL. It's like 10 minutes at the most, 15 minutes at the most.
Yeah.
But it's still just dead air when nothing happens. And I remembered the top 5 from before. And I thought, you know, I have editing skills. It's not an impossible task to get it done. It fills up the dead air. I'm at the point where, you know, I'm committed to seeing the league do well. And as part of that, I'm like, how can I help? What can I do that isn't already being done and is, for at least for me, is kind of low effort.
Yeah, and bear in mind, these were questions you were just asking yourself. You hadn't actually brought this up to
Yeah.
anyone at any point yet.
No, I was just thinking, and then I was like, why didn't I know that you had been like, I'd heard that you'd been made like content manager and stuff like that. And I was like, why didn't I just post a question to Trigger? Why don't I see what Trigger thinks about it? So I messaged you and I'm like, I've been thinking about this. What's your opinion on it? Do you think it will work? What do you think I should do?
I mean, I'm going to scroll up and I want it almost word for word, because let's find out. That's just me sending clips. So I'm just going to read this out. So you say, has anyone spoken to you about doing like a top 5 plays video? I know some did it before for a little while. I think it's a good idea to reboot. And my response was, it's about going through all the games to get the clips. It's very time consuming and not many people are willing to do it. To which your response was, I was thinking about that today. You could get it up where players send in clips, and if they think they should make it, and you have a group of people, maybe the team reps, who all vote for what they think the best ones are. Because you can just record right from replays, right? I was like, yeah, I get that. I just don't know if people would be willing to do it. I mean, by all means, if you want to take the reins on it, I'll support you. And I think that was the consensus, was it? Of me just saying, mate, like, yes, it's a great idea, but fuck me, is it a lot of work, and is nobody going to help? But I'll help. But you were like, no, Cliff's going to do it. So after that little, the conversation continues, and obviously you get more ideas about how people could do it. But from this conversation, what made you not get deterred? What made you carry on doing it? Especially because after the first time, so how long did the first time take you?
The first video?
Yeah.
A couple of hours, but not including pulling clips, because I pulled all the clips myself from that one. And
well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So how much is it including that?
So including that, that's me watching both of those streamed games, trying to find clips from Zeus's choppy stream from week 1. Because I think he was having some problems with his stream, so the whole game was choppy. Which is why most of the clips are from like Claytron's Academy.
Versus us, we got clapped. But
yeah, sorry about that. Everyone seemed to appreciate it. It was just clips of you getting shit on. So...
But yeah, so that took what, excess of 5 hours probably.
5 hours just watching the stream, watching the stream,
and then like the 2 hours,
couple of hours clipping it together and learning the new software that I have for it. Because I'm using different software than I used to use before.
Because no one in VL put 7.5 hours into content.
Into 7.5 hours into a 5-minute video.
Yeah, no one does that. Literally nobody. Like, okay, maybe you can argue that Kui and Zeus at the moment. I think, is it Zeus or is it Lev? I can't remember who's actually doing it. I think it's Lev.
The cards. Kui and Lev, right?
Kui and Lev, yeah. Other than that, which is obviously taking a long amount of time. Like the podcast, I get a guest, I tell you to think about something, and then we start it.
And bring alcohol, and that's it. Yeah.
Literally as soon as you join the call, and it works. Name it or flame it, you know, it takes maybe an extra 10 minutes and then you record it for 15 minutes. The same with this or that. Obviously, we've got to think about what questions we're going to do, but ultimately, it doesn't take too long. It doesn't take 7 hours which is where my
No.
initial thing was me saying, bro, it's a lot of work.
Mm.
And it would make it so much easier, if the people that just watch the stream say, that was pretty good, let me clip it. It would take them literally 30 seconds. But no one's going to do it. No one's going to do it, and we know that.
I think after the first conversation I had with you, so before I even started making the first video, I went into VL General and I like brought the idea up in general chat. I don't remember who I was talking to, but somebody was like, "Oh, it's pointless." And I was like, I was thinking about getting people to send clips into me or something like that. And somebody was like, "Why don't you just get the replay files?" And I'm like, I doubt people are going to send me full replay files of games that aren't being streamed, especially like from teams that I'm running a rival team to.
Yeah.
I doubt they're going to want to just send me replay files so that I could study them and shit. And people were like shutting me down over it. There's one or two people that were just like, "It's a dumb idea. I don't think you should be doing it." I'm just not a person that gets deterred from it. So I was already, like I said before, I was already watching the streams. It's already something that I do. I stick them on whilst I stick them on my phone, headphones in, hoover the house. I stick them on the Switch and set the Switch up next to the hob whilst I cook.
Yeah.
So it's already stuff that I was doing, and then it just became about getting a notepad, being like, "Oh, that was a sick play." Write down the time, write down the game, and then when I get to my computer later, just clip it and then download the clip and go from there. Obviously now, compared to the first week, now it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because now a lot of people are on board from it. I get clips from most teams send me clips every week.
That's good. That's good.
So like, I get plague clips every week.
Well, yeah, this is all this is, by the way, is just Last wanting to be and get some level of credit for his performance. He loves it when he gets called a sandbagger. He loves it. It's almost why I say what I say about Last and just say he's overrated. It's just because of how much he loves it and fishes for those compliments. But yeah, all credit to him and the work he puts in anyway. But yeah, so now it does take less time now.
It takes a lot less time now because people are sending me clips, and then I have people like, I put a post out on the content tab and ask people if they would like to help rate the videos, because I didn't want it to be just my biased opinion of what is good and what is bad when it comes to League of Legends. So now obviously I have like you, Jack, Wakada Chewy, Last, C, and Oikawa, my jungler for Shadow. And we all get together and we have on my Horizon Discord, we just have pages there. We all post the clips up. We all rate on the clips, which I still need to do.
I've done him.
But, you haven't done them.
What?
I'll tag you on the page. You ain't done them. You ain't done them for the video that's supposed to come out on Monday, mate.
Right.
You ain't done those ones yet.
Everyone who's watching a podcast, just hang on a second while I fucking.
It's like 8 videos that you ain't rated yet. I was checking them before we started because I wanted to flame you about it.
Right, so it's not on Div 3, Div 4, because fucking nothing's
No,
in there.
It's in clip bin. After Monday, because I said to the post, after Monday, we're using Div 3, Div 4, and then I'm going to get rid of clip bin. So in clip bin.
Okay.
You can see now, can't you? You can see now all the ones that you haven't done.
I assumed that the previous clips on there were from last week. So I posted 3 clips, reacted to those. I've not seen Jack's that he posted like this morning or last night because I was drunk. That's what I do. But yeah, I mean, it looks shit anyway, except for the one person that voted 8. But anyway,
Who voted 8?
Okay, fair enough. I've not reacted yet. But even though I've not done what is in essence clicking 4 buttons, I would like everybody to take at least like a minute out of the day to help us get more clips.
Yeah, any clips, like you send them to me or send them to Trigger. They just get posted in there. We vote on them, and then so on the day before the video goes up, I go through them all. I work out which of the top 5 voted the highest, and then I just download them, rip them from the internet, and then on Monday, the first thing I do in the morning, the day the video comes out, is just make the video.
Yeah.
So that takes me from like 8 in the morning to like 10.
What 7 hours is now? What? 3 hours in total, probably.
It's now like 3 hours. Yeah, it's a lot less effort. But now that we're getting more clips, there's more clips I have to go through and watch. So that, in another way, is more effort. I have to use more brain power and thinking, well, is this one better than that one? Like,
well, that's what
so,
we're all here for, isn't it?
That's what I need the help for. If anybody wants the help, by the way, just message me and I can get you in. So
the next question is, Ben, what's your opinion on? I'll split this into two parts. What's your opinion on, first off, the stream? Picking what games to stream rather than streaming everything. Now, obviously, since I've become head of content, I've been pushing for more stuff. We've now got VL and VL2, which obviously means that every league gets streamed, every division gets streamed every week, which is obviously a good thing. But obviously, the opinion of picking the most hype game rather than picking so everyone gets streamed. What's your opinion on that debate? I tell you what, you tend to always forget the first question, so I'll just ask you that one, and then I'll go back to the next one.
I mean, I'm making my way through it, Trigger. Like, I think that there's a lot to be said on showing the hype games over making sure everybody else sure everybody gets streamed. There do seem to be some people that care about being streamed, and it's not really a thing that I ever really thought of. At WSL last split, we got streamed the first week, and then we didn't get streamed again until we won playoffs.
Yeah.
So it's not something I really care too much about.
Do you know what my personal response is to that? And really, I asked you a question just so I could answer it myself. That's kind of what this podcast is for. I ask questions that I want to answer. We should only stream the games that get that hype. So, for example, the best example, and I've had a discussion and a little bit of a tussle with Jonjo and Joycey about this and understanding where their head was at and understanding which of the two of them is stupid. But Div 4 on Monday. We've Claytron's Academy versus Inkerturn. Both teams undefeated. The winner will undoubtedly secure promotion and also come top and get side selection, as well as being what is a prelude and a prelude to what's probably the final. And there could be a great clips sourced from it, great video being made, and also everyone gets an idea of how this could go and what the upset would be. Instead, streaming Inkerturn. Instead of streaming Claytron's Academy versus Inkerturn, they are streaming Centurion Academy versus Hentai Haven, two teams that are 0-4, and it will be a boring series. One team's going to smash the other one. I don't know which one it'll be, and it will be an infest. Maybe it'll be fun for the casters, but there's no hype around it. Neither of these teams are going to make it, and then not stream. So that one is because Hentai Haven haven't been streamed yet this split. Right. That's the reason that it's been decided ultimately, as well as a couple of other fake reasons that they've added. But ultimately, that's the reason. Hentai Haven haven't been streamed this split, and that's the reason that game is being chosen. And I think that's ludicrous. I think it's absolutely ludicrous that then you're not streaming the best two teams in that division.
I think there's like one of two ways you go about it. Right? You either before the split starts, you look at the schedule, and day one you go, these are the games that are being streamed. Deal with it.
Yeah.
And you release that at the start. The way they do it right now makes it look like they decide on a week-by-week basis. I'm on the outside looking in here. So that's how it's done, week-by-week basis.
We do decide on a week-by-week basis, yeah.
So if it's done on a week-by-week basis, in my opinion, you should be picking the games that are either going to draw in the most viewers. Admittedly, the viewers are just coming from the community anyway, so it's not like it's going to make a big difference what game's getting streamed, or stream the game that is going to be more interesting. Right? So last week on Thursday, there were the two games that were streamed, two great games that were streamed.
Oh yeah,
two tied teams in both groups at the top.
Yeah.
Centurion versus Plague, Deja Vu versus Claytrons. Brilliant choices because they're both unbeaten and they're playing each other.
People probably watched both.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas most people don't usually watch both. I went back and watched both. Yeah, was how good that was. I'm not going to watch.
We were playing at the same time as those games. I went back and watched both, like almost immediately. Whilst my fiance was asleep, I went back and watched Centurion versus Plague, and then the next day I went back and watched Deja Vu versus Claytron. So,
and I really think there's something to be said for making sure that that's the case, because not only is it just better for the viewer experience, better for the production value, it's better for the longevity of like history in terms of next split, right? Not next split, but the split after next, right? Let's say that Claytron's Academy get promoted to Div 3. And
Yeah.
then next split, Inkerturn get promoted to Div 3. And Claytron's just stay in Div 3. Then you get a hype matchup of Inkerturn versus Claytron's Academy, right? You've got a narrative there. And you can go back to the first time that they played in groups, the finals that they played.
Make like a hype package and stuff.
You've got such content potential there.
Yeah,
Like,
I
the
agree with
story in
that.
itself is motivational to do something. And it's like, you can go back and get this. Whereas when you've got Centurion Academy versus Tensei Haven, it's just going to happen and again and again. Like, nobody cares.
Yeah,
and
I think
that's my argument for it, and I want it to change.
I think I agree with you, and I think the way that if they don't want to do it like that, I think deciding week by week is a bit dumb. If you don't want to do it to make sure you have the most hype games going on at the same time, I think you decide all of the games at the start of the split and release the whole schedule then, so that everybody knows what game they're getting streamed, everybody knows what game's on when, and then nobody can argue with anything. You know, if you want to do it just to have people be on stream, which the stream is an additional extra, it's like it's not really pertinent to the league at all.
Yeah.
It's just a thing that the league that Joycey organizes, you know, or Joycey and John Joe organize. So, I know, I definitely think it should be like the most interesting games, because if last week Horizon Shadow versus Volpine was getting streamed, despite the fact that we got streamed, ignoring the fact that we got streamed the week before, if that was getting streamed last week instead of Centurion Plague, I'd be like, why? What is the actual point?
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Centurion and Plague are playing each other. It's the rematch from the finals. Like, they're both unbeaten. Why would you want to show anything else?
Yeah.
You can take it to like a football analogy as well. It's why on Match of the Day, the top 4 teams get shown the most. They get the most screen time because their games are the most hype. Their games mean the most because they're the people fighting for the top.
And to be fair, it's also because they've got the most fan base, so they get more clicks. But yeah. I understand the sentiment, and I'll be honest, and I'll go on a little bit, not a rant, but a complaint that I've got with the admin team at the moment, and I've made it public to them, so I'll make it public to everybody else as well. Is the day that this is how I got made head of content. John Joe comes to me and John Joe says, I need help. I want your help in sorting out what games get streamed and stuff like this. And me and John just go into a big conversation about content, casting, streaming, everything to do with production, right? A really, really productive conversation. And me and John turn around and we say, okay, we're going to talk to Joycey and Trav about this. All these ideas that we've got, all these things that are going to make it better. Trav doesn't get involved in the conversation. Rock, who was the head of
Travis never replies to me when I send him top 5 videos when I'm streaming. So
Rock, who was, by the way, head of content for the admin team, doesn't get involved in the conversation. So it was just me and Joycey. Then John Joe joins in a little bit after he comes off and comes back. And we're talking about everything. You know, we're spitballing ideas. I'm explaining everything. And in the end, we're like, well, Rock's not going to do anything anyway for head of content. Like, he'll do his bench, but that's what Rock will do. So in the end, I'm like, right, okay, I'll do it. And there was a conversation that we had and a discussion that we had. And the first thing was that Joycey was going to let John Joe and myself, but mainly John Joe, decide what games were going to be streamed and decide what happened on stream. It was going to be all up to us, right? Again, for the streaming, that side of thing, John Joe for the content production, more me, but he was going to give that all up to us to make it better. For the content side of things, I was like, here's in my opinion, and so nobody can really disagree with me at this point, considering the spike that content has gone up since I've been involved. And obviously, credit to everyone that has helped. I didn't make you do top 5, but my 3 points are a hierarchy, someone to look to, someone who can inspire, lead by example. The Steven Gerrard of content. You know, someone maybe won't shout, but will play better and make sure everyone does it. So, for example, if I didn't do
just don't fall over on the last day of the season.
I might do just for the fun of it. So, for example, if I didn't do the Let It Rip podcast and I was telling everybody else to do stuff, I'm not motivating anybody. In the same way that
No,
when
it's a bit hypocritical, isn't it?
yeah, when I do the power rankings video, it made Charmander want to do the power rankings video. That shows that the hierarchy is key, that someone is there to motivate and be a captain. The second thing is a narrative, and everything needs a narrative with content. Now, for content such as yours, the narrative's quite obvious. It's the what was last week. This is the story that we want to portray. Why would anyone want to watch the content? Is another key thing that's needed for content. It's because content producers know that this needs to have a reason to be made. Otherwise, they're not going to be motivated to do it. So they need a captain and they need a narrative. And the final thing they need is the ability to not be censored. The issue when everyone else tried to come in and be a content manager, Copyrofire did it, Nixiana did it, and they fucking failed at it massively. And the reason they failed is they had the hierarchy down, but they had this censorship issue not down. They didn't give the freedom for the people to do whatever they wanted. I've never turned to you and told you how to do top 5 plays. I've told you the issues you're probably going to face and the fact that I'll help you no matter what. And anything that you'll ask me to do, I'll do for you. But if I was to tell you that you can't put the same game in twice, if that's just something I said, because it has to be more all-inclusive to the league, I'm censoring your content. Yeah. I'm taking control of where I shouldn't, where you're putting the effort in for the league, but I'm taking control just because hierarchy, right? You wouldn't want to do it. It would put so much more effort into it. It wouldn't be a true representation of the top 5. You want it to be a true representation of the top 5. That's why you asked people to vote on it, because you want it to be good content. And if I was there making it worse content, you'd probably be less motivated to do it.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you'd react a different way and you'd really go into it. But for most people, it would. And they're the 3 things. It's hierarchy, it's narrative, and it's censorship, right? And the 2 issues that I've had with the admin team at the moment is the first one is, as you'll notice, the last Let It Rip podcast episode has been removed from the content tab. It's no longer on the content text channel. And that was because in that, Joycey said something about Rock, which ultimately resulted in Rock leaving the admin team. Glenn messaged me and said, I want you to edit it out. What? No, bear in mind, I didn't know that was about to happen, that Rock was about to leave. But there was obviously conflict within the admin team. I was like, what? You want me to edit it out? Why are you coming to me with this? Yeah, at first it's already happened, but why is Glenn coming to me with this? If it was Joycey that was regretting it, sure. I wish I didn't say it. You make me drink alcohol, and because of that, I got drunk and said something I regret. I can understand that shit. I can understand.
Joycey was nursing the same dark fruit the whole way through that episode. I watched it.
True, that is true. But if that was his excuse, fine, I can respect it. Because it comes from him, he regrets saying it, he doesn't want it to be public. Yes, it's happened, but at least he can make the step to get it out. Rock watched the stream that I accidentally pressed instead of pressing record, and was like, he could have come to me and said, I really wish that no one knew this. I really wish no one knew this. Please, can you get it out? And I'd talk to him about it and be like, freedom of speech, you did do it in the first place. Everyone's got to live with shit. These would be things that I'd say, but we'd have a discussion, and ultimately I'd probably remove it because I respect him as a guy. But when Glenn comes to me, what he does there is he undermines my position of head of content. He removes that hierarchy, which was the key thing that I said in those 3 steps, and he censors. And it completely ruined my motivation. And that day I was very, very tempted to just quit being head of content, just simply based off the fact that he said he wanted me. In the end, I just deleted it from content. I wasn't going to edit it out because it's my own shit. It's on my YouTube channel now. But that was how it was. I was like, yo, I just can't accept that that's the way it was. And then it happens again with now this stream situation. So pretty much every week, I say mainly Jonjo does it, but every week I'll speak to Jonjo and be like, I think these are the games that should be streamed, mainly for a content or hype situation. And we had agreed on Claytrons versus Incoturn at the start of the split, and also now being the most hyped game, because we did the power rankings, we know that these 2 teams are going to be the top. Then Joycey says, no, we're going to do CNA versus Hentai Haven. And that, for me, is like, again, you've said that we've got complete control, and now you're changing it. And anyway, that's my recent annoyances with me putting the work in for head of content.
I understand why you're annoyed. I'd be annoyed too if Joycey came to me and was like, "Oh, I don't think you should have 3 Claytrons clips in the top 5 play, even though they're the 3 best clips or something, I'd be like, I appreciate your decision, but jog on, mate. I'm making the video. I'm putting the effort in. You know, I've organized the team that helps me out. I spend 2 hours cutting it, you know, and for you to just come and say, I don't think you should do this because of XYZ. I don't care what you think. I'm either going to do it my way or I'm not going to do it at all.
And that's kind of the issue that I've had. And obviously,
yeah,
previous me would have Dunzo manifestoed the fuck out of that. Dunzo manifested my own organisation and probably left the league, come back as someone called Vindicate and tried to smurf. But
good plan.
But no, I said after this one, I've said strike 2. To be honest, if they pull some similar shit, then I'm just not going to do it because it's hypocritical from them, and it's
yeah.
what
I
it
think
is,
that
but...
situation. I think that situation is almost like Joycey has obviously said something to upset Rock, but Joycey should have the mental wherewithal to know that he was the one that said it. He should be asking you, can you do something? Do you mind not sending Glenn to do it?
Yeah, because the issue, I don't even know if he sent Glenn to do it. I think it was a very public admin discussion. Obviously, Glenn's an admin. If it came from Joycey, it was personal, and I'd respect that. Because it came from Glenn, it then came from the admin team.
Yeah.
And then it's that feeling of being undermined. Because I could have disagreed with Glenn and argued with him, but there's no point, because he can just delete the message.
Yeah, he can just do it anyway. So.
Yeah, he can just delete the message anyway. So there was no point in starting that. So that was my issue. But anyway, that was me wanting to go on a little bit, a bit of a rant. What's been your opinion of the way that content's been improved so far, and what would you like to see be added to it?
I mean, last split, there was like nothing, was there? Like,
Yeah.
what was even? Did you even make a podcast at all last split? I don't think you did you?
Maybe one, but probably not.
Yeah, there was no. I don't even remember if anyone did anything. I think there was maybe like one bench last split.
Yeah, Bauer did a power rankings at the start with Ruben and Cloud, I think.
Yeah, so nothing happened last split, and now you've got people putting in the effort. You've got, you know, Asco putting in effort with this or that, more effort than he puts into his teams. You've got Val. It's Valk that does Name It or Flame It, right? Yeah, I love watching that. It's hilarious. You know, it's not even like it doesn't even take a lot, because a lot of the idea behind that one even is just to get a bit of bounce out of people.
Yeah.
So it's well thought out the ways that it's done. And the fact that more people stepping up and doing stuff even inspired me to step up and do stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that helps. The amount of stuff that's coming out and the quality of it as well is even good. Like I don't think there's a shitty piece of content that comes out. You know, nobody's putting anything out that I watch and I'm like, ugh, what's the point of you even doing this?
Yeah. I mean, there's things where it could be improved. Like the content of Let It Rip is pretty dog shit in general, but it's just what can you expect from a podcast?
The content behind Let It Rip is the premise of it, innit? So like, the premise of this is to get somebody on, have a few fucking drinks, and chat shit about the league and our opinions. Like, but that's the premise of it.
Yeah, like this or that could have better questions, or Flame It could have better like flame questions. Like there's certainly ways that it could be better. But these are things that are spoken about and constantly worked on. This or the top 5 could have a better system and be more accurately done.
I take from top 5. So I just like from my personal perspective is at the start of it, I was the only one deciding what the best plays were.
Yeah.
And now there's a team of people, including me, that are deciding, and yourself, that are deciding what the best plays are, which should equal out to there being better plays on the video.
Yeah.
I'm spending more time learning the software, so as it goes on, I should be able to add different things in. We spoke about it a few days ago. I think it was a few days ago, maybe a week ago at this point. I've got in contact with some of my friends that produce music, and they're making specialist music just for top 5. So as long as people are putting in the effort to make their content better, and all of the content so far is at a high enough standard where I don't think anybody would need to do anything more.
Yeah, everyone's going to watch everything, I think, is where we're at.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what we need it to be.
yeah, and it adds more stuff for people to watch in the downtime between games and stuff like that. Obviously, the biggest obstacle I see for this is when we go into next split. Are people going to carry on doing it? Because there's going to
Well,
be a
of
downtime
course.
between splits, and are people going to still have the motivation next split to do what they're doing this split?
That's always going to be the issue. But that's up to me. That's my responsibility. That, as I've said, the my my rule of 3 that I've got for this is all about motivation. So my job of head of content isn't to make top 5 better, isn't to make Name It or Flame It better, isn't to make this or that better. Now sometimes I step in and I help and I motivate, but the job is just to motivate in it. So there's going to be more things we add. Some of the things that we've got will probably drop out just based off the nature of running out of ideas or whatever it is. But that's my job. So hopefully, no, it won't run out, providing the admin still picks me off again. But we'll ignore that one
I
now.
mean, like stuff like Name It or Flame It. Valve could use the same questions, the same flame questions every time, but just get 2 different people from 2 different teams every time, and it would still be like fresh enough because there's different people on it.
Yeah, but for that one, it's the League of Legends question. So they'll ask which
150 champions. If Valk runs out of ideas for trivia questions, he's fucking in. Let's be honest, right?
Right, okay.
If he runs out of ideas for trivia on League of Legends, he's gone mad.
Right, okay, maybe that's fair. I mean, I
The
know
hard,
every week we struggle with this or that. To be fair,
yeah, I was gonna say the hardest one has to be this or that, right? Because even like if you even watch like the LCS version of this or that, you can see where it dips and rises in quality of the questions.
yeah.
So doing it just based on such a small community, because the VL community isn't massive, I can see where that one is probably the hardest one to do on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I mean, it's a team of me, Last, and Asco. Last because he's probably the best memer in VO in terms of making the memes and putting them in. Whether you like his style of comedy is up to you, but he's definitely the best memer. Asco's the one that puts the effort in, puts the slides together. Marco is the one that created the graphic. I'm there just to make sure that everything works. I record it. And then probably the best 2 personalities in VL of Ruben and Trululu. At least in my opinion, Ruben and Trululu, they're the same person. Trululu and
Yeah, I was
Crodden.
gonna say, don't discount my boy Cradden there.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Best 2 personalities in VL, Trululu and Crodden doing it, I think, is the best content that VL gives.
It's definitely the highest quality.
Do you think?
I think it's the highest quality content.
Yeah.
At the moment, Name It or Flame is up there, but Valk needs to learn how to hide and bring questions back. To keep like disappearing and re-popping back up. But yeah, I think this or that is probably the only thing I think this or that needs is like opening and closing graphics. Because when the episode starts, the question's already there when Ruben and
something that
are doing their intros.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
That'd be the only thing that I'd say this or that needs at the moment.
Yeah, I'll speak to Ask on Mark about that because I agree. When I'm trying to change the sides, it's just like this is awkward. But yeah, we'll get that changed. Because the issue that's my main issue with yours in the first place was the fact that it's so much effort for something that looks low quality. It's not low quality. People love the fact that you're the one narrating it as well because you've got a good narration voice. At least from what people have a genuine consensus.
People love
about
my
that.
voice for some reason. I don't know. When I listen to my voice recorded, obviously it's the thing that you don't sound what you hear.
Yeah.
You don't actually sound like that. So when I listen to my voice recorded, I'm like, ugh, it sounds horrible. I don't sound like that. That's disgusting. But for years, my fiance's been saying to me, "Oh, you've got like a voice that could do radio." And I just see like random people in the fucking VL general chat saying the same thing, and I'm like, I don't know why I've been arguing with her for the last 4 years about it. She's fucking right.
Yeah, I mean, when everyone's saying it, it must be true. But obviously, that brings back to the content. If there's one other thing that you'd want VL to have, what would it be? If you can think of anything.
We spoke about. I think I briefly mentioned it before, but maybe like and I saw some conversations. I think I saw it in feedback or something. But either like getting like a coaching person in to talk about drafts during streams, or some sort of like pre-game analyst desk where you get like 3 or 4 people to come in and talk about the matchup beforehand. I think that's the only really thing that I can like right now without putting any serious thought into it.
Yeah.
Think that would immediately make the league better.
So it's all
Like,
about what happens during the match, during the stream, is making that be more
yeah,
filled with stuff
I
that's
think
interesting
I
and
think
entertaining.
in terms of content, that's like the big thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The streams are like the be all and end all. If the streams are done well, it makes the league look better. So maybe adding like an analyst desk where you get, I don't know, members of the community that even just grabbing like people like, I don't know, like Silverback and 2 people from a team that aren't playing that week, just to talk about the matchup and the game. So insightful people that aren't going to freeze up under pressure. Because
Well,
some people just can't publicly speak. So
yeah, and to be honest, the analyst desk was going to happen week 2, day 1. It was at that time that me and the girl that I've been speaking to and now fully ended it. So it's clearly been an off and on thing for the past few weeks. Happened. I just didn't have the effort to put into that. But the hard thing with the analyst desk is getting the people that are willing to be on it, and it will run
yeah,
from we'll probably say 6:30 to 6:45 on every stream. It will just be VL1 for this one because it's not something we can repeat on VL2, but it'll run from 6:30 to 6:45. Then the hype video will play. Then the stream will happen, and if we can get it sorted, we'll do some coach interviews as well. But if people want to be ever on the analyst desk that are watching the podcast right now, just send me a DM so I can get some level of idea of who would be willing and interested. It would require a camera, would require a mic, and you'd need to kind of do some level of research onto the teams to be able to talk to 15 minutes about the matchup.
yeah.
But if you can do
I
that,
don't know. My cat's going mad at the moment. Sorry if you can hear that.
that's fine. If you can do that, let me know. Coach interviews is something we probably will look at for next split. But one piece of content that we've not spoken about is arguably the best piece of content is the Quee
Oh,
cards,
Cree cards.
which looked like it would just be something pretty simple, but now we know Glenn's involved. There's probably some level of coding behind it. Maybe it's a trading card game. Who the fuck knows what's happening with this shit right now? But I've been told by yourself that you might know a little bit more than most people.
I have a Cree card leak
Oh,
that for just personally for me made me feel validated. Um, so Quee told me about Cree card. He asked me for my picture for it last night.
yeah.
So me being me, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna press Quee for information then, and see what I can get out of Quee. This is literally just 100% self-interested stuff. But I found out last night that I got rated higher than Cradden, and I was like, I'm fucking amazing because Cradden's the best support in VL, so clearly I'm better.
Best support in VL on the podcast right now. That should be the title of this podcast. Best support in VL. There we go. Always look for a good title.
But yeah, I think he's almost done, right? They put out like a hype video, didn't they? And there's a little, is it in content? Or announcements? There's a little like snippet of what I think is the back of a card, and then the front of like Quee's card.
Yeah.
So yeah, they look good. They look kind of like Ultimate Team cards,
Yeah,
don't they?
that's all because he's done it before, but that's always been the inspiration of kind of taking it from Ultimate Team, and maybe there'll be something they can do with it, some kind of game. I've had a brief conversation with him as well about it, but it certainly looks interesting. It looks exciting.
We gotta get VL cards top trumps. That's what we gotta do.
Well, I think that's probably the direction they'll go is top trumps because I think that's the only way they could really do it.
We'll have a VL card top trumps tournament. That's what we'll have.
We'll have it. I can be sponsored by Centurion just so I can get more credit for it. But anyway, Cliff, it's been a pretty fucking good podcast. I've enjoyed the conversation. Is there anything that you want to say, anything you want to talk about before we end this one?
No, I think we've pretty much spoken about everything. As long as everyone keeps putting in the effort with the content, I think the league should will do well. I mean, it's been a lot better this split than it was last split. But yeah, everybody go look at Trigger's split idea, like league format idea,
Yeah,
which is
I'll put
somewhere
that
in
in the
feedback
description.
or in the description. If I keep mentioning it, he might actually put it in the description. So. But look
Yeah,
at it and read it.
yeah.
It's good.
We'll see what happens with that one. Whether the admins take
There
the
definitely needs to be a
consideration.
discussion on it because
Yeah.
people don't seem too happy. Not unhappy, but people think it could be better.
It might be a grass is greener conversation situation. Who knows? Hopefully the conversation will be had. But anyway, Cliff, it's been a fucking pleasure to have you on the podcast. You've been great. I wish you luck with Horizon Light and Horizon Shadow. Fingers crossed Horizon Shadow can make that magical third place that you've been after, and Horizon Light, they're on the way to win it. The Academy is well and waiting in the wings, so we'll see what happens with them. We'll try and get you guys streamed. It'll certainly be exciting. But yep, guys, thank you for watching the Let Rip podcast. He's been Cliff. I've been Trigger. Over and out. Peace.
Yeah.